This is Saturday, March 14th. There are 130 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2020. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go.
Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive, current music, Refuse 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple.
Good evening. I'm your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast tonight, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us.
All right, so we're going to take questions during the show as usual. You can tweet us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtag SDConCast. We'll also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment there. So let's just get into this, Carrie. What happened this week?
Oh my God. You and I were just talking about, it feels like it's been like 400 years since Monday. What didn't happen? I mean, the sequence of events basically went like this. The governor of California banned all gatherings larger than 250 people through the end of March on, God, I don't even know anymore, Wednesday? Tuesday? And then the following afternoon, ComicCon International, even though they were not technically banned, went ahead and announced that they were going to be proactive and cancel WonderCon or postpone it, though postpone may really mean cancel, TBD. But yeah, that's as far as CCI conventions goes, that's what happened. I mean, there's almost every major convention at this point here in the next couple months has postponed or canceled.
Yeah, and so what, as con-goers, what are we doing? What are we basically doing because of it? I mean, I know I'm basically just I took a day off to go to WonderCon on Friday. I'm gonna keep that day off and probably relax at home.
Yeah. I mean, if you were like me and traveling in from somewhere else, the good news is, or I guess even if you were local, if you had a hotel, the good news is that On Peak is refunding those. They've already started that process, but they did say it may take up to 14 days. WonderCon badges are also being refunded, though again, it may take up to 14 days. If you had flights, everybody's individual airline and ticket is different. A lot of airlines at this point are waiving change fees, which means that, for instance, my flight, I didn't get a refund, but I got credit basically for the amount that I had paid. So that's better than absolutely nothing. Yeah, that's pretty much what's happening with that. But mostly what we are suggesting to everyone is, even though this is terrible news for the fans, this is way, way, way worse news for artists and small vendors, because this is literally how they pay their bills. They were kind of counting on not only this convention, but most of them, like several conventions, and they've all been postponed or canceled. So the best thing that you can do if you want to support these people is to go into their shops and buy some stuff. Like if you're not going to WonderCon anymore, you probably have a little bit of flexible spending right now. So we put together a WonderCon online, and please use that hashtag, because I know with ECC there were like 50 hashtags that even I couldn't figure out like where everything was. But we put together a list of everybody in Artist Alley, including their social media, their website, their web store, so that you can go and support those people. Please continue to check out that hashtag. Please buy art.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's way more involved because obviously there's a ton of vendors who aren't just in Artist Alley. There's about 800 exhibitors. And what we'll be doing is we'll be hopefully spotlighting as we can the ones who maybe we're going to have exclusives and are doing an online sale. Any exhibitors who are going to be bringing things that they now need to figure out a way to get rid of, we'll hopefully be able to at least direct you to where they're selling them online. I know that a lot of local, not necessarily local to WonderCon, but where artists are, they're going to be doing probably pop-up shops. So I know, I think it's Patrick Ballesteros down in San Diego. He's going to do a little pop-up shop in a week or two, I think it is. So, or maybe even the weekend of WonderCon. So basically, we're going to hopefully be able to share as much information as we can for all of the artists and business who need your help in staying afloat. Obviously, we don't have. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we've already kind of started that. So like if you wanted a commission, we still are listing commissions, and I don't know for sure if everybody on that list still has open commissions, but it never hurts to check. And for everybody that we do know, it for sure says open on that list. So if you wanted original art, that's a great way to go support. We have already started like listing a couple of exclusives that we've seen pop up in the hashtags. Like I know I posted Flat Bonnie's exclusive today. Anything else that you guys have that you want to promote, if you were an artist or if you were a vendor, again, make sure that you are using the hashtag WonderCon Online. For ECC, they did a whole thing this weekend right now, because this was when Emerald City was supposed to happen. And if you go and check ECCC online, the hashtag, there's all kinds of artists promoting their stuff. You can go buy stuff. We're hoping to do the same thing for the weekend of WonderCon, but you can still go support now. So again, the big thing is just go support these people. And yes, like James said, the list that we put up is only Artist Alley that we have actually been adding anybody who's asked. But basically we didn't do the whole thing just because we couldn't add 800 vendors. Like I don't have that kind of time. I don't think you do
I don't even
either.
know how you guys added how many hundred artists there were. I mean, we discussed it.
Well over 350.
Yeah, we discussed it right after Cancellation. We were like, do we want to just keep doing Wonder Posts, or do we want to make a list? And I mean, I proudly pushed for a list and then proceeded to not help with it. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I was going to help that night, and they were finished when I got home and was ready to work that night, and they were done. And that was insane that you guys got it all done.
Yeah, I hope you guys understand. Like we knocked that thing out. We really and truly wanted to, number one, get ahead of it, because again, like it's so horrible what happened to Emerald City, and I know so many people wanted to help, but I also just felt like the efforts were just spread all over the place. There wasn't like one central location, so I really wanted to like try to make one central location. And number two, we wanted to start supporting the artists like that day, so we made sure that that list went up that day, hell or high water. So that's awesome. And again, you should definitely go support all of the artists that you want to. I saw Andy say, see, I appreciate you guys acknowledging the whole postponed terminology, really meaning canceled, because I just don't see WonderCon happening this year at all. One thing we've not talked about is I have actually seen the email that went out to vendors, and what they told vendors is that they could basically or they could put their deposit towards the booth at a potentially rescheduled WonderCon 2020. I mean, ComicCon International doesn't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen here in the next few months. Like, yes, of course, they want to reschedule it. They want San Diego Comic-Con to go on, but nobody knows. Nobody knows is the motto of the week or month or whatever you want.
So basically, WonderCon is postponed until they can no longer fit it into the schedule of dates available at the convention center and whatever may be happening with the virus, and the rules from come down from the government and whatever else may be happening. Nothing has been announced yet. No. James Binder asked, I thought WonderCon got rescheduled to August. That was
Emerald City, wasn't it? Yeah, that was Emerald City. Yeah, WonderCon does not have a new date yet. So we're all just kind of in a holding pattern on everything in the world.
Yeah.
Not just this, but literally everything in the world right now.
Let's acknowledge that, yes, the world has a whole lot of things going on, and this is just our little corner of it that we are dealing with. There is obviously, if you have things that you need to deal with, if you have family that are sick, whatever, don't worry about there being, this WonderCon online list that you may not be able to support. Don't feel bad about that, because we all have things that we have to deal with. But for those of you who have a budget that you were, the fun money for going to the convention and you still want something, you're going to have a chance because a lot of those vendors are going to get the stuff up online. Some of the major vendors like Funko are doing online sales of the things that were going to be exclusives. So it's going to happen, and you just need to keep an eye on it, and hopefully we'll be able to make sure that all the information is available to you.
Yeah. Okay, well, speaking of, we don't know what's going on. Do we want to talk Comic-Con?
Sure. Let's talk a little bit of Comic-Con.
Okay, so again, no one at all knows what's going to happen here in a couple months or weeks or days. So much has happened just literally this week. So who knows what the world's going to look like in even a week from now. But as far as San Diego Comic-Con goes, ComicCon International has not yet made a decision whether or not to postpone or keep going, or who knows. Again, I think it's too early to call. We're all just kind of waiting to see what happens on a larger global scale. I know a lot of people were concerned or mentioned that E3, which was scheduled for June, they did actually, I think they canceled. I don't think they postponed.
I think they canceled too.
Yeah, I think they canceled, but I know nothing except the online chatter that I read, but I have heard that they possibly had some different underlying issues, and maybe that's part. They kind of maybe possibly use this as an excuse to cancel. I know nothing. Don't quote me on that. But they are the only convention really that far out that has canceled or postponed. I think everyone is pretty much in a wait and see pattern right now, including ComicCon International. I mean, they just canceled WonderCon like roughly a month before that convention. I don't know that they would necessarily wait that long for San Diego, but I do think that right now it's just way too early to call.
Yeah, and everyone right now is, for the things that are canceled, like Disneyland shutting down, conventions being canceled, virtually everything is through the end of March right now. Some things are going into April, like WonderCon, but most everything is no further than a month out because everyone is waiting to see what happens over the next month, and they don't want to jump the gun on anything further than that right now.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's basically what's going on. We have had, though, several questions asking us like what ComicCon International would do in the event that that convention happened to be postponed or canceled. I actually reached out to CCI and asked, and they confirmed pretty much exactly what I thought, which was that it's a constantly evolving situation and it's too early to get into logistics or to really decide anything. But I mean, I can tell you what I wish would happen.
Yes.
On pure wish fulfillment. Personally, if I was running ComicCon International, which I definitely do not, what I would do is, because badges are so hard to get and it's such a hard-fought battle, if I were ComicCon International, what I personally would do is I would go ahead and I would do one of two things. Number one, I would give people the option to either just transfer their badges to 21 and give them like a deadline to decide, or if they didn't want to deal with that system, I would mass refund everyone. And then whenever it came time the next year, I would send an email to everybody who had 2020 badges and be like, here's your code. You have the option to get badges again for the exact same dates that you had last year. You'll have to repurchase them, but you can buy them again. And if you don't want to, you don't have to do anything. And then whatever inventory they had left, I would then sell that. That is what I personally would do. But who knows what? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so because if it gets canceled, it's not the fans' fault, and it's not Comic-Con's fault. It's something else. Yeah. And so it's basically, let's just redo it next year. And just like, it's basically status quo. Keep everything as is. So everyone who has a badge should be able to go. It's as if we just skipped over for a year and just ran everything as we were going to run it. I think that would be the best solution.
I think so too. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I understand. ComicCon International, bless them, they are good at so many things. Customer service is not necessarily one of them. So I'm not entirely certain that I agree that the most likely scenario is that they would give people the option this year to decide. I think the more likely scenario, in my personal opinion, is that they would just refund everyone. And personally, that's kind of what I wish they would do. And then, like I said, next year, give people the option and be like, this is what you had last year. You could repurchase. You can decide this year and see like what your situation is.
Right.
We'll just have to see what happens. Like, I mean, we wish we had a clear answer for you guys. I'm sure, quite frankly, the ComicCon International wishes they had a clearer answer for you.
But we won't be able to get even to that decision to make until we find out if Comic-Con's even canceled.
Yeah, and I think, what do you think would, honestly, James, what do you think would be the latest that they would announce?
Considering how late they would announce?
Or just the timeline, roughly.
I think that they will know how things are going in a month or two. And if things are on a certain path, I think they're going to cancel if they can see where that path is going. So I think we may get a cancellation if things are going poorly. Overall, I think we're going to get a cancellation probably in May. If things are kind of iffy or we can't really tell or things may be on the downturn, even though they might have gotten a little worse than expected, I think we may wait until June to make the call. But I think May or June is when they do it because they did it a month out this time, and I think they'll probably keep that. They won't let it go, I think, into July without making a decision.
No, I don't think this will. I definitely agree with that. I don't think there's any way we go into July without like a clear answer of like this is happening or not happening.
Right.
Comic-Con San Diego is just like such a bigger event. But yeah, I don't think they'll make an announcement this month. Honestly, I don't even think they'll make an announcement in April. I agree with you. I think May or June is when we're looking. So
I think they're going to run everything business as usual. I think we probably will even get the hotel sale in April.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to delay everything. They're just going to run it as usual because what they did with WonderCon is they just refunded everyone.
Yep.
And they can do that again. And someone asked on the YouTube chat if the early bird sale, which is going on now, will get refunded, and absolutely they would refund that as well.
Well, don't say absolutely, because like ComicCon International has not confirmed that, but I agree with you in that I fully believe that ComicCon International will do the right thing there. Yes. I mean, with the WonderCon hotels, I don't remember off the top of my head if they were either non-refundable from the get-go, if we just passed that date. But technically, like they should not have been refunded.
Right, exactly.
Today or yesterday, but they were. But again, I think the best thing that you guys can do is just like, I know it's hard, and we especially, I understand, like we push to try to get clearer answers, but on this, like the best thing that any of us can do is just be patient. Yeah. I know it's hard. I know that goes against like everything that we as Comic-Con attendees believe in, but just try to be patient. Real quick, I know. Aaron asked, will it be before or after hotels? I do not know. Hotels would normally be in late April. I could see ComicCon International still going through with hotels in late April. I mean, they were pushing forward with WonderCon like it was totally still on until the date.
Until they announced it. Yes. Yeah. They were doing tweets and pushing stuff out up until they announced that it was canceled.
Yep.
So that's what they're going to do with Comic-Con. They're just going to run it as if it's going, and then tell us, and then until they announce it, they'll obviously make a few statements here and there if people ask them. Like we got the 10 news statement a few days before that. Hey, you know, we're keeping an eye on it, but that's all they can do.
Okay, so Brian said if studios and publishers don't go to SDCC, they would have to cancel. Can't have a con without programming. Has to be a big factor out of their control. So this is going to be a really interesting conundrum, I think, for studios and publishers. Maybe less so the studios, but at least as far as the booths go, like if you pull out, there's like a 10-year waiting list or something. So I don't think as many vendors as we have seen pull out of other conventions would necessarily pull out of San Diego, if only for fear of losing that spot in other years. So I mean, I think that's a very serious concern, and I don't know that ComicCon International would necessarily let people pull out until again they announce that it's not happening. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, studios don't have to bring panels. Like, programming may be very sparse, even if Comic-Con does happen. But nobody knows what's going to happen.
And I think that studios would still bring things because they can still promote for later in the year when movies are coming back. Because as Jennifer mentioned, productions are halted and release dates are moving. They're all moving away from the next couple of months, and they would want to, if the con still goes, all of those studios would actually push to be more present there to get back on track.
A Quiet Place Part 2 panel coming towards you this summer.
Yeah, and plus for those panels, I mean, they're up on stage. They don't have to interact with people. I would say that signings won't be happening. I don't think that's going to be a very big thing coming up at conventions for a little while, possibly.
I agree.
So, I mean, there's going to be some changes going forward, especially if there's still some part of the coronavirus still traveling around. If it's faded out from the peak and it's on the downturn, it's still going to be around and people are still going to be needing to do things. So there will be changes.
Sir Lister's Meg asked if SDCC does happen, what sanitary changes might we expect from CCI? I'm pretty sure actually you can go right now onto the San Diego Convention Center's website and they'll talk to you about what all they're doing. I mean, it's the same thing as everywhere. We have hand sanitizer. We are cleaning more often.
I mean, just read one of the 14 million emails you got from every business you've ever given your email to about what they're doing to protect their customers. Yeah. And that's what everybody's doing.
Yes, I know. I mean, I would not expect to see like major changes. Like Margie Y asked temperature checks. Unless we move to that like nationwide, like China did, I would not expect that. Yeah. So, who feels reassured?
Everybody.
Okay, so again, like I said, I mean, we wish that we had better answers for all of you. But we just don't. Nobody does. Like, these are unfortunately like very uncertain times. I know that is scary. I know that especially in this kind of climate, like, we all just want some escapism, and for many of us, like, Comic-Con is that escapism, so this can feel like especially devastating. But we will get through this, especially like if we work together as a community. So again, if you have the means, like, please go and support small artists and small vendors who rely on conventions, and just be nice to each other. Like, all of this last week, like, there were some of you guys in our Twitter ads, like, I just about banned a lot of you. Just be nice. Like, your situation is not necessarily someone else's. So just try to have compassion and be kind. Like, I feel like Comic-Con attendees are some of the nicest people. So let's just try to continue with that.
Yes, please do that. That's the good thing, which is part of what the whole WonderCon online thing is about, is being nice. So what are we going to do the actual weekend of WonderCon? What are we thinking about our plans? Are we just going to run like lots of retweets and information for people so they can see all the information for that weekend?
I think so, yeah. And I think we just keep pushing the hashtag and encouraging artists and vendors to use it. And again, leading up to that weekend, like we'll be doing some Wonder posts full of what people would have been offering. Like somebody had a toss a coin to your Witcher coin that I saw today that they would have brought to WonderCon, and I was like, that's really cool. So we'll still be promoting stuff like that. So I'm sure that even without a physical convention, you will find something that you want to spend your money on. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
There is still plenty of cool stuff to be had. So, yeah.
That's all. I mean, that's about all we can say now. I mean, without actual things to talk about, like schedules and who may be coming and all of that kind of thing. I mean, there's really not a lot that we can say right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I'm the one who pushed for this podcast. But we wanted to like touch base with you guys because again, like we are a community, and I do think it's important that like we talk about like what possibly might happen and what you can do to support the people affected by these conventions canceling. So that's what I've got for you.
That's all we've got.
Yep.
So let's wait a second to see if there's any other questions. Let's talk about besides. Are we gonna do a podcast the weekend of WonderCon? Do you want to do a podcast?
We can. I mean, we can talk about WonderCon online. You can do screen sharing, can't you? We can show off some cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can do that. We might even try to get some folks like Toddland and some other folks on here to talk about their stuff. Would you guys like that? Like if we did podcast one of the days that WonderCon would have been?
Sort of like a little mini WonderCon.
Virtual WonderCon?
Stream Fest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be up for that, I think. Like I said, I plan to stay home and relax because, what else are we going to do? I mean, that's what I'm going to be doing most of the time anyway now. Because that's
I work from home, so I've been self-isolating since November 2018. So, like, I leave my house right now, like, normally once a week to go to a movie, and that's about it. Not even doing that now, so.
So it looks like a resounding yes that they want us to do a podcast on.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think we'll do it probably on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Let's plan for that.
And I'm sure we can get at least Toddland on, and we'll probably get a couple other folks on.
We'll try and get with you.
Yeah.
That would be cool. And from there, I think we're just going to start doing, unless they announce something really early, we're going to start the SDConCast ComicCon season in May, just as planned.
I think so too. I mean, so let me do a quick PSA. When we do start announcing San Diego Comic-Con news, please don't reply to me that it's canceled, because until it actually is, like, you guys have two options. One, we can continue as business as usual, or two, we can post nothing. And you can all, if it does happen, then you guys can just enjoy Comic-Con like with no information. So like, them's your options. Okay? So so long as ComicCon International acts like it's happening, like, we're just gonna keep acting like it's happening.
There you go.
Because we don't really know what else to do. So.
Yeah. And John Kim pointed out, which is awesome, that social distancing Comic-Con is SDCC. So no matter what, SDCC is happening this year.
That is amazing, John, and we are totally using that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So I guess let me see. We answered earlier, Thady Moda, we answered whether we believe if it's going to be postponed or canceled entirely. We really don't know. I suspect that it will they'll say it's postponed and then it will actually be canceled. If it does end up getting postponed for Comic-Con. So.
But it's too early to know.
Yeah.
Like, again, think of like how much has changed, like literally just this week. Like,
this week.
No one in the entire world right now like knows what July is going to look like. So it's just wait and see right now.
Okay. So we're back in May. We'll be back Saturday, April 11th, for a special WonderCon online stream fest. Whatever we can put together, we will do. And I think that's it. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in for this special. I mean, Saturday night, it's like, oh, wait, what are we going to be on? We're not going out and doing things. So you guys are all going to be sitting inside anyway. So, hey.
That's right.
I keep thinking things like the normal way of doing things, like, oh, Saturday night, people are out. I got to say thanks for actually watching us. But then I'm like, no, everyone's staying inside now. Everything's different. All right.
Yes.
We have a Patreon, and if you are signed up for that, we thank you, and we will be doing a special Patreon podcast coming up in about a week or so, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think it's next Sunday.
Something like that, yeah. But we'll be doing one for you guys, and we really appreciate all of you supporting us. The money comes from you guys and goes into our hosting, and because hosting is so much fun.
Yes, and like James said, thank you guys so much for supporting. And quite honestly, even if Comic-Con does not happen, like, we do still need your support because we still have hosting bills to pay. So thank you all so much for contributing to that and thinking that what we do has value. We make approximately $0 off anything that we do on the site. We put all of the money back into the site and back into fun stuff like t-shirts and giveaways for you guys. So we greatly appreciate that.
Yep. All right. Carrie, I mean, since it's the only place we're going to be looking, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon, and you can also find me running the blog Twitter, where, again, you should not reply canceled to everything that I post. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I'm everywhere at Dan Riegel, and you can check out geekshotphoto.com for all of our work on photography links and social media links for my wife and I. And also, yes, we did do a Star Wars Talk with James episode, and yes, we'll be doing more as soon as we get off our butts and do some research, because I don't want to half-ass that. So when I have time, there will be another Star Wars Talk with James. Thank you also to Beth, who is my co-host on that, and also the producer on this show. She does basically everything to get it into your ears. And thank you, Beth, for doing all of that.
Yes, thank you so much, Beth. We greatly appreciate that. We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up on the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We're also on Stitcher Radio. Link is in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening, and everybody be safe. And also, go shawarma!